Innovators are unconventional. They have new ideas and new perspectives, and they solve problems differently. And when your problem is cancer, a new approach like this one can make all the difference. In many ways, John Graves is a new man. He looks better, feels better, but the memory of his old life is still vivid.
I worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Always was looking for the next deal, the next adventure. It was a pursuit of wealth, and I didn't eat well and I didn't sleep well.
It was January 9th, 2013 that everything changed.
And he basically walked in and says, "John, what you have is a monster growing inside you." And he says, "You have about 8 months to live." And they call it a pleomorphic, undifferentiated, high-grade sarcoma, which basically means it's a fast-growing, fast-spreading cancer. It's really hard to say I have cancer. I got this sympathetic plea of, "Oh my," and "I'm so sorry," and I'm so sorry for you, and I couldn't revel in that. I had a real argument with God. Why me? Why did I get cancer? Why not someone else? How come we think that we don't deserve to get cancer? But then I said to myself, why not me? I did 25 days of radiation, and then they took the muscle out of my right leg. He said, "You may have a limp, you may not walk, we'll see what happens."
John felt something was missing from his treatment, that he could be doing more.
The juice in, this is good therapy.
With the support of his wife, he took what he calls an integrative approach,
We're a team. You keep me well and I live.
incorporating holistic therapies, juicing, and supplements.
This is the fun part. You get all these nutrients in your body. So I stopped drinking. I stopped eating all processed foods. I stopped eating, I went to all fresh and raw products. In fact, my blood levels were at such a high antioxidants that were in my system that I had to actually stop my alternative treatment to go through radiation because it was nullifying the radiation.
It's an approach he learned from this man, a friend with a cancer story of his own. In this case, the diagnosis was multiple myeloma, an incurable cancer that had spread to his brain.
It literally sounded like they were drilling through porcelain when they came through my head.
Post-surgery, doctors gave Charles just weeks to live. He still remembers getting the news as he sat with his daughter, who was just 3 at the time.
And that was probably the hardest, thinking that I'm not going to see her graduate, I'm not going to be able to walk her down the aisle, she'll never know who I am. At 3 years old, she's not going to remember who I am.
And that was the beginning of a journey that led him to his truly unique perspective and approach to cancer. So unique, in fact, that he says this.
So this is going to be hard for everybody right now, but every cancer at every stage is curable, but not every cancer patient is curable. Which means not every patient's going to do everything it takes to reverse their cancer. I mean, I'm sitting here with a cancer that spread to the brain with weeks to live. I'm sitting here 4.5 years later because every cancer at every stage is curable, because I made a decision.
Dr. Majors is not an oncologist. He's a chiropractor.
I'm going to write everything up on the chemo protection protocol.
While insights and research published in his book, Cancer Killers, might be hard for some to swallow, they're sought after by many. Like this woman who traveled from Texas to meet him and his family in his home before starting chemotherapy for breast cancer.
So what I say is you're maximizing the chemo and you're minimizing the side effects. You're maximizing the radiation, minimizing the side effects. Before you go for surgery, you're getting your body healthy to handle that. And so what I'm not sitting here saying that no one should go to conventional doctors and you never go to your doctor. Not at all. What I'm saying is that we have to first find out what's causing it. And step 2 is now decide how you're going to kill it.
His approach includes a multitude of therapies, infrared saunas, extensive supplements, juicing, and a healthy diet, just to name a few.
Conventional medicine, they study the big 3, which is chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. That's what they do. Everything they're doing is treating the cancer, the secondary part, and thank God they can do that. But we have to find out what's causing it, and they're never going to go there. That's not what conventional medicine does.
This approach based in the idea that each cancer has an underlying cause, that cancer is actually a symptom or protection mode.
You don't get cancer and then get sick. You are sick for years then you get your cancer. Good way to explain it is this. Right now, if you look at this part of my finger, there's no callus on here. But if you look over here, there's 2 calluses. Without me even saying a word, I didn't have to tell my body to do it. It knew to protect me. And so it changes its structure. And we know that there's so many different levels of a cell as they're being damaged to where they finally turn into cancer.
While recent MRIs have revealed him to be essentially cancer-free, Dr. Major knows, medically speaking, overcoming the incurable doesn't quite make him cured.
That's the argument I'll get from conventional doctors is, well, you're probably not cured, don't tell anyone you're cured. 4.5 years ago, I couldn't play with my kids. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't work and see patients any longer. I could barely even walk to stand. If I'm not cured, I really don't care. I'm here for one reason, because I got my body back to health again.
Live juice.
Meanwhile, 2 years after his diagnosis, John feels grateful for his journey.
The reason it's a blessing is because it gives you a warning as to what you did in your life needs to radically change. Are you strong enough to make that radical change in your life? Are you willing to turn your life upside down and say, one more chance, give me one more chance?
I don't see, there's no miracles here. If you get the body healthy again, it does what it was supposed to do in the first place.
And Dr. Major says keeping his cancer away is still a full-time job. So, what advice does he have for all of us? That's next.